Fish on.
Really nice looking fish.
Woo! I love it.
That's a hog.
Woo!
Oh yeah, bring him up to me. It's a nice fish.
Nice job. That is a tank.
Nice job, you two.
Lund Boats proudly presents the ultimate fishing experience. This week on Lund's The Ultimate Fishing Experience. Tactics for catching walleyes on artificial lures has grown by leaps and bounds recently. Walleye-specific lures like crankbaits, soft plastic, and reactionary baits like jigging wraps and rattle baits have accounted for more and more walleyes netted into the boat each year. But sometimes there's nothing like good old-fashioned live bait. Minnows, crawlers, and leeches are usually a hard treat for walleyes to pass up, mainly because they're the real deal. You can think of it this way. Artificial lures trigger walleyes into biting, whereas live bait entices them with subtle action and smell. The downside, of course, is live bait needs to be taken care of or it's gone, whereas a crankbait you can throw into your tackle box and use again next time. And that's what today's show is all about, the best way to use and care for live bait for walleye.
You bet. I know one thing, that's live bait rigging. That is finest right there.
Hi, I'm Toby Kvalevog.
And I'm Jason Freed, fishing guides with Leisure Outdoor Adventures here on Leech Lake. You know, we spend all summer taking customers all over the lake, and it is an exciting place to be. The walleyes, the muskies, the perch, all other species that are in the lake. But right now, it's early June, the fish are biting. Toby, how do you think we're gonna catch them?
We have a lot of things we can do today. I'm excited to try to catch them on jigs and shiners still. We can catch them pulling, live bait with Lindy rigs. I believe we can catch them on spinners too, so we'll have to find out. The fish are out there, they're hungry, I know they're biting.
I know one thing, we're both teachers, we're both coaches, school's out for summer, and we're ready to go fishing.
That's absolutely correct.
Looking at today here, I think we got a really good chance to catch fish shallow and as well as kind of move out deep.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely correct. The seasonal migrations of the walleye, we've learned are pretty predictable out here. You have your bread and butter opener mid-May fishing bite when the water temps are cool and the walleyes are super shallow and they're congregated, and when you find one you find thousands, and now with the forage starting to blow up, with the bugs and minnows and everything else, the fish are really starting to show up at the buffet, so to speak. They can have this, they can have that, so that means they're spreading out too, right?
And as fishing guides, we laugh sometimes, but we've probably got 20 to 30 rods in our boat.
Oh, absolutely.
Because when you have this time of year, we're kind of in that transition period now. We're not to the midsummer pattern yet, especially on these big lakes like Leech. Things can change so quickly out here.
Yep.
And you can fall into a rut as a fishing guide, and all of a sudden you can get yourself in a tough spot. So you always got to be adapting and almost looking ahead as to what's potentially going to happen next. Yep. And that's where electronics come into play. Things like our Lowrance side scan and even kind of messing around with the new live site and everything. It seems to be you can kind of take what maybe would be a 100-acre flat and really kind of break it in and down and find a way to hone in on those fish quicker. And then from there, you're able to figure out what they're going to bite on. We're kind of starting the morning here, working a little bit of more of a deeper piece of structure, and not necessarily fishing deep. We're fishing anywhere from 13 to 16 feet of water. But it's got some steeper breaks to it, and we're more so really focusing on kind of this sand gravel area along with some scattered rocks, and where these fish are just kind of hanging out here. And obviously with Leech being a wind-driven lake, as you can see here this morning, we're really going to try to fish some of these areas where the wind is blowing in, and oftentimes that's where you're going to find the bait fish and the walleyes kind of hanging out. Here we go.
Fish on?
Hooked up.
How's it feel?
Decent.
Decent fish, huh?
Just working this wind-blown edge here.
If I can get the net here. Gonna need a net?
Ooh, feeling a little drag. It's always an adventure on Leech when the wind blows.
You need to drive?
I think I got her. Isn't that what coaches and teachers do, Toby?
They do.
Multitask.
Work together too. Teamwork.
Makes the dream work.
I think I saw color there for a second. Maybe not. Yeah.
Nice.
That's a nice fish, Jason. Look how fat that thing is. You think he's been eating?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, baby. Look at that thing. That's a toad.
Just
Crushed it, I bet.
chowed that red tail right there.
Bye-bye. Thanks for playing. Nice fish.
He whacked it.
12 feet of water.
13, I think.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Mercury Marine. Go boldly.
So we just caught that one on a red tail here. Kind of a well-known bait in central Minnesota. And so when rigging these, just pretty simple. You just get the red tail here. This is about a nice little, I don't know, 4-inch red tail. And then just go right through the top lip. So that thing can freely swim around down there.
Jason, I just got a bite on a crawler.
Good.
I think. I'll take two. I had a little bite earlier, but I dropped it, so we'll see. This one felt like it ate it pretty good. Yeah, I got one. I don't think it's a super tanker like you had. This is just a nice eater, which is good.
You got her? Okay.
That one we could take home. You know, Maggie said if I go fishing, bring some fish home, and that's a 15-incher. Now that would be a perfect frying pan fish. Personally, I love the 14, 15-inchers, maybe even a little bit smaller. They cook up the best. And that's what we come here for. Jason got a nice big one, same spot. I have a night crawler on. You can see we got him right in the hook right in the corner of the mouth. You mind if we keep a couple fish today, Jason?
I'd say go for it. They'll taste good later.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. So we're rigging a 1-2 punch here. I'm using a crawler, nose hooked. Go right through the end, kind of like you'd hook up on a piece of plastic. And I take a worm blower, find the collar of the night crawler, shoot it up with air. And I'm fishing a little shallower water. Jason's rigging right on the outside edge of the weeds, and I like to pinch this off too, a little trick. Get a little scent on there. And I'm fishing over some sand grass. So with air in there, this night crawler is actually gonna stay up off the bottom. 1/8 ounce slip sinker, floating night crawler. And I'm jigging it a little bit. I'm pulling it, and as I do that, this kind of spins through the water and floats right back up in their face. So it keeps it out of the weeds. I'm Lindy rigging shallower. Jason's got it out to the outside edge of the weeds with the red tails. Kind of a 1-2 punch. It's a great way to catch them here on Leech Lake.
We'll see here. The minnow got excited. Sometimes when the minnow gets excited, just drop the line. And that thing just all of a sudden stops there. That's usually a lot of times when they eat it.
Big rock right there too.
Full fet's not a rock. Nope, fish.
Good one again?
Another good one. So what I was saying was,
You want to come over to this side, or where do you want?
kind of see where it
I'm going to get
takes
in
us.
front of you.
Nope, you're good right here. So what I was saying was, the minnow got excited.
That's a nice one, long one. Another 23, 24. We'll let him come around one more time. Scoop him up. There we go. That's a nice fish too. Not quite as plump, but long.
Red tail walleye is right there. This one might be similar in length to the last one, Toby, but
It's about 1.5 pounds lighter, it looks like.
I think this one's been on the
Working out.
keto diet or something. It's lost a little weight. Red tails are kind of like the second grader who's on the playground, who's, you know, kind of getting picked on or whatever, and they're kind of tattletales. And so when you're fishing with chubs like creek chubs and red tails, what happens is you're moving that thing along and it's swimming, and when a walleye comes along or a pike or whatever, that minnow immediately gets scared and starts to kick around. And with these super light action rods that we're using these medium action or medium extra, basically fast action rods. These are by Elliott here. What happens is that minnow starts to kick. You can feel it on the tip of your rod. And so kind of a really good point when you're chub fishing is drop the weight And what happens is it almost kind of stalls out, and that's usually when the walleye bite. And then with chubs especially, what I tell people to do, especially when guiding, is put the rod tip at about 10 o'clock, close the bail after you've given them line, and just start reeling. Reel, 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 reel. That rod tip loads up, give it just a little bit of a hook set, and then just let the rod fight the fish.
All right, so I just switched to a leech. Another tactic, basically a Lindy rig, hook, line, and sinker, but we're using a leech. But as fishing guides, the old bread and butter live bait is really the way to go for us, because you don't have to have necessarily the best coordination or technique when it comes to live bait rigging. Basically the hook, line, and sinker, it's a system thing. So as guides, we can fish one line or three lines with people holding the rods by basically fishing the boat on the structure the proper way, knowing where the sinkers are, and dragging the bait through the fish. So people don't have to cast and jig and have all the technical stuff down as much. So live bait's a key. I'm gonna try a little tasty leech, the after dinner mint of walleyes.
But there's a lot of really specific nuances to when you're live bait rigging, and speed in accordance to what kind of bait you're using is super important. You know, a leech, for example, you don't want to go too fast with a leech, otherwise it's just gonna basically spin and tumble around down there. Because when you think about a leech in the water, it's just naturally swimming. With a leech, try to keep it at, you know, 0.6, 0.4, somewhere in there with your speed. And so when you're rigging, you gotta think speed bait, what's working. Whereas with a crawler, you can go faster with a crawler, anywhere from, you know, 0.7 even up to a mile per hour with a crawler, and that seems to be work. Whereas with minnows, you can actually go slow, you can go fast with them, and to basically really maximize hopefully your fishing success. You know, Toby, we've as a guide team, we've kind of ran a whole series of Lund boats, everything from, we've had glass boats, we've had aluminum Pro Vs, but what's kind of become a staple in our whole guide group is the Lund 2075 Pro Guide, and it is in my mind, a fishing guide's dream boat. The complete layout of the boat is so friendly for fishing guides because of all the space we have. I mean, we can fish easily 4 people in this boat, plus the fishing guide. Everybody has a spot to sit. I think the part that probably sticks out to me is the storage. I mean, as a fishing guide, I mean, oftentimes we've got 20, 25 rods in the boat. We've got all kinds of tackle for different species. I think as a guide, that it really allows us to have the ultimate guide boat more than anything. So, I mean, you've ran a couple pro guides. What do you think about it?
Oh, absolutely. You've nailed it. It's the space. It's the ability to fish multi-species. You know, I do a lot of musky fishing too, and whether you're trolling with the boat and using it for that purpose, or literally having 2-3 guys casting and chucking big lures. I mean, there's a ton of room.
You know, the 2075 it's a big boat, and for most people out there, it's probably too big of a boat. But with the Pro Guide lineup, you've got the 18-foot model, you've got even a 16-foot model, which allows, you know, for some of those people out there to get essentially the same setup and the same fishability, but maybe something that's going to be more in their wheelhouse for maybe smaller lakes or whatnot. You know, another great feature about the Pro Guide is that 2 years ago, now they made the change, and they're now available. You can use a 250 horsepower Mercury Pro XS engine. And really what that allows the Pro Guide is, from a performance standpoint, the hole shot is amazing. We get out of the hole, you can drive through rough water with it, but yet you can still back troll and do some of those things with it, even though it's a 250 horsepower engine. So being able to upgrade to that bigger engine now has really, I think, taken the Pro Guide to another level. Hooked up, Tobe?
Yeah, it feels pretty good.
A little more shoulders to this
Yeah,
one.
that's a bigger one. I've been watching you catch quality fish so far, and hopefully I can get this thing in the boat because it's got some beef to it. What I did there is I just pitched it up shallower, and we talked about maybe some of these fish are shallow. I threw it up shallower than the boat was sitting, and then started to back away from that fish. I don't like to lift on fish too hard when they're right straight down, because if they turn and look up and the hook comes out, or they open their mouth when you're pulling straight up, that's when you can rip the hook out. So I like to let them swim around and come in up top.
Oh yeah, that's a good one, Tobe.
Oh, come on, Jason.
Got him.
Nice fish. Perfect. That's just a nice Leech Lake walleye. These are, your prime spawners. We catch a lot of these, as you've seen so far. We've got a variety. We've got some small fish, we've got some bigger fish, we've got a few in the box. Live bait. We go through a lot in the year guiding with people. We talked about it earlier that it's nice to use live bait. People don't have to be as technical with their fishing. And today we're using minnows. And of course night crawlers are probably the easiest as long as you keep them cool, and leeches. And for that, with keeping bait alive is hard enough when it gets warm. But now with our invasive rules, we have to keep them in clean water and not transport lake water. So what we have to do is we utilize aerated coolers. We keep one in the boat, one in the truck, interchange the bags that you put the minnows in, and when you get back to your truck, you can drain all the water out of your boat and have fresh live bait water in your ingle that's in the truck. So it's very important to keep your bait alive. It's very costly to just throw it away at the end of the day, and it's just one of those deals where it's expensive to have it, but it can make a big difference in a day like this when things start to get tough to have fresh, good live bait. Got him?
Yep.
Decent one?
Decent one.
Nice job, Jason. That's a leech bite for you. Yeah, good job. All right, buddy.
Nice work.
I think that's like a tournament fish if we were fishing a tournament today. That's one of those beautiful 19-inchers.
So we made a move again and switched up captains to kind of change up the pace a little bit. When you're fishing, and you're both fishing guides, kind of like having two alpha males in the boat.
Right.
So who gets to be the guide? Sometimes you got to draw straws, but made a move and slid out a little bit deeper. As you can see, the sun's gotten a little bit higher here this afternoon, and the wind has calmed down. And so sometimes that means you got to change up your speed. So we've kind of really slowed things down here. And I found kind of a little pot of fish here that this one ate on a leech, and just kind of let that leech just kind of flutter along. So we're keeping a couple for dinner tonight, and this is just a dandy. So we're gonna go ahead and put this one in the live well and get back to fishing.
So he can say all he wants about the finesse and good fishing, but we all know it was the guide that put him on that fish. Want another one, Jason?
Sure.
All right, I'll get you on another one.
Dial them up.
We both coach. I coach hockey, you coach football, but sounds like life for you is going to get a little bit more interesting. I know you've had a long goal to be a head coach in the Brainerd School District, which is where we teach and coach, both of us, and why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I've been coaching football for 19 years now, and was a former head coach before I came to Brainerd. Been in Brainerd now for 11 years, and it's always been a lifelong goal to get back to being a head coach again, and to do it in a big school. I came from a small school down in southeast Minnesota and coached 9-man football. And this last spring I had the opportunity to apply for the head football job and take over for a guy in Ron Stolsky who's been doing it for, I think, 58 years.
Guy's a legend. You got big shoes to fill.
I do have big shoes to fill. And for me, football and fishing just go hand in hand. And as a fishing guide, you teach, but sometimes you coach people up, and
a lot of coaching.
And every August, sometimes I gotta hang up the fishing sticks, and I gotta put on the whistle and walk down the football field and coach young men up. And it's an exciting opportunity. I'm super excited about being the head coach for the Brainerd Warriors again, and putting my own stamp on the Warrior football program.
Yeah, that's exciting. Well, why don't you give one of those let's win one for the Gipper speeches of these walleyes and see if we can turn them on today, because it's been a long time since we got a bite.
Well, what we need to catch a big old toad is what we need.
Yeah. One of the most important tools that both Jason and I feel that we have as fishing guides is our electronics. It's our eyes below the water. We both use the Lowrance HDS 12 live units, and he has a 9 up front too, and they're all linked together. And some of the important features that we find with these units, we have set up here on display, and that's the traditional 2D sonar, down imaging, and then you have your mapping, and on the side over here, the second unit, we have the new live sight mounted actually on the Vantage trolling motor, so that's our flashlight underwater to see directional movement of fish. And then of course we have the side scan. And with these 4 different components, it's truly the most important tool that we feel we have in our boats when it comes to finding fish. So here we have some fish coming on the live sight transducer. I don't see anything off to the side, and we're just getting to them now in the boat, and they'll start to show up. Here they are. Now that you can see them on the 2D sonar. So I'm able to find the fish before we're over the fish by using those live sight technology. Those look like hungry walleyes to me. That's a big fish.
Nice work, Tobe.
It's a good one, Jay. Cool thing is I can see that on the live site. It'll fall right over it. Hope I can get this big girl in. It's a big fish, Jay. So we got our fish. We're just heading off the lake.
Kind of pulled in on a...
It's one spot where I'd seen some fish the other day and I couldn't get them to go. And I wasn't sure if they were suckers or walleyes, and put one more leech down there and holy cow.
This thing is,
Not happy.
I think he's built like a
I'm guessing this is going to be a heavy fish. Regardless of how long it is, it's just fighting like.
You know, Leech Lake's got keeper fish. It's got fish in the mid-20s, low 20s, and it's got big ones, I think, like this one, Tobe.
It's got shoulders. This one hasn't been caught, I don't think, yet this year. It's pretty fresh. It's a large walleye.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. Nice. That's a nice fish, and it is fat. We're on our way off the lake. We decided to try one more spot where I knew there was fish, but we couldn't get them to bite before. And what a great day. We're out here with good friends. You and I have been friends for a long time now. Pretty much worked this guide service together since the beginning, and it was fun to talk to you and listen a little bit about your new path that you're going to follow here as the head coach of Brainerd and catch a few big walleyes along the way. You've had some nice ones. I finally got a nice one in the boat.
I think you might help me today.
Yeah, that's a dandy fish, so healthy too. Should we get this one back?
You bet. I know one thing. That's live bait rigging.
Oh,
At its finest right there.
an after dinner mint.
That's
For
right,
a
buddy.
walleye.
Good work.
I think I'd like to have some dinner now.
Let's do it.
Not this one though.
Thanks for joining us. If you'd like more information, check out lundboats.com or these other online outlets.